Hello and welcome back to the My Tehillim Time Festival, our Omer edition, where we're counting the Omer. And I'm so excited to have you back. For those of you that it's your first time here, welcome. Where have you been? For those of you that have been here time after time, welcome back. We had a fantastic opening night last night, and I'm excited for this evening's program. My name is Orly Wava. I'm the founder of Abraham's Legacy, a social network for tefillah focused on the Sefer of Tehillim and the power that it has to really unify us in a tremendous way. This is an app that's truly a labor of love in memory of my grandfather, Alav Shalom Avraham Ben Polin. And the truth is, working on this event and working on the app makes me feel like I'm continuously having a relationship with my grandfather. But I feel very, very honored to be doing this. And I just want to thank each and every one of you for taking the time out of your day, out of your evening to be here with us, to be growing spiritually, emotionally, physically. We're really stretching ourselves during this time of the Omer. Now we're on to the main attraction, Rebekah Saltzman. She is a personal organization expert and a sustainable lifestyle leader in the Jewish community. Decluttering, reducing waste, and a simplified Jewish life are all married in her premier book, Organized Jewish Life, the essential guide to planning Jewish holidays, events, and everyday, which is going to be included in the raffle, as I mentioned. A busy mother of three, an entrepreneur, Rebekah knows the struggles of keeping it all together. Pair that with the revolving Jewish calendar, managing all the customs in everyday life, and it's easy to drown. But using her expertise as a personal organizer, Rebekah has tackled the seemingly impossible task, making Jewish customs, traditions, and holidays simple with the ultimate checklist for Jewish life. And every week, Rebekah helps people all over the world from all different denominations to declutter their lives in a popular virtual decluttering session called Power Hours. And she's thrilled for her book to impact the lives of so many in new ways and help people find happiness and peace beneath all of that clutter. And that's very much a time of, connected very much to the time of the Omer where, and what we just came off of, Pesach, right? We just decluttered our lives. When we declutter our lives, we actually make space for the beracha that HaShem is intending for us. It's not necessarily a simple thing, but with her guide, it can help us get there. So I am excited and honored to have with us today Rebekah Saltzman, who's going to be speaking about how to incorporate HaShem and Tehillim into your life. And we're going to be focusing on on chapter 39. So without further ado, I give you Rebekah Saltzman.
Thank you so much, Orly. I'm so glad to be here, everybody. You can connect with me on Instagram at balaganbigan. I would love to, hear what you have to say about my talk tonight, and I'm looking forward to interacting with all of you. If you'll permit me, I'd like to tell you all a short story about something that happened to me today. My dad came to visit my family in Israel for Pesach, and Pesach's over, but he's still here. And at first, when he told us the dates that he was going to be staying a little bit longer, I was really excited because I love to spend time with him. And then I was a little bit filled with dread because I'm like, well, what are we going to do with him? Right? My husband and I have to work when Pesach is over. The kids are going back to school. Like, what are we going to do all day? He a little bit needs somebody to entertain him because since my mom passed away, it's a little bit difficult for him when he comes to visit. I was just really struggling because I'm like, how are we going to manage, right? Like, what's going to happen? What is this going to look like on these days when we're working? I couldn't fathom it because I had just taken off all these days before Pesach and all the days of Pesach to be with him and my family. And in all honesty, I did work like a tiny little bit, but mostly I just was keeping an eye on things. And I mainly ignored my phone and my messages before, during, and even a little bit after Pesach. But I had already taken off all this time and I didn't know what to do. Now, when my dad comes to visit, he likes to go to the hot springs that are around Tveria. And it's not so far away from me because I live in Haifa, but it's not so close. And the one that he likes to go to is kind of a difficult drive for me. And he really wanted to go today. And, I was just like, no, we can't do that. It's just, I can't make it happen. And I could see he was so disappointed. And I was like, oh gosh, I can't live with disappointing him, right? The hot springs, I know they make him feel so much better and they give him so much physical relief. So I thought about it and I said, okay, let's make a deal. I'll take you to the hot springs that are inside Tveria, not the ones that are outside. I know you don't like them as much, but at least you'll get some of the benefits and we can go there and stay as long as, up till 3:30 or 4, so I could make it back in time for you guys all tonight. And he was like, that's a great, compromise. So what shifted? When I thought about it, I couldn't not make time to do something for him. Now, it wasn't a perfect solution, but it was good enough. It was okay. He doesn't come to visit that often, and I only see him a couple of times in the year. And even though I talk to him almost every day, except for Shabbat and holidays because of the time difference, and I thought about it and I was like, how much time do I have left with him? He's almost 77. I mean, he should live and be well, but no one lives forever. I really have to take the time with him. I have to enjoy the time that I have with him because I don't know how much more I'm going to get. Now, I don't have to spend every single minute of the day with him when he visits, but I have to try to spend some time with him. And while it isn't my job to make him happy, if I can bring him some joy, I feel like I've fulfilled the mitzvah of honoring my parents. And after all, with only one parent left, it just becomes so much more important to honor the one who's living. So I rearranged my day today and we went to the hot springs in Tveria, which were beautiful, by the way, and I highly recommend them. Would I be able to arrange every day to accommodate him? No, but I can do it sometimes because understanding how my day is organized gives me the flexibility to pivot and move things around. A little side note for you, the key to flexibility and being organized is not overscheduling yourself. So if you don't take away anything else from today, remember that. Don't overschedule yourself. It's important to remember that how we spend our time shows us, our families, the world, they show what our values and our priorities are. What our time looks like shows what our values and priorities are. If I couldn't prioritize my flesh and blood father, I mean, seriously, what am I doing here? And the thing is even prioritizing my flesh and blood father is not enough. I also have to prioritize my heavenly Father, the one who really takes care of me, gives me everything I need, even when I may not deserve it, even when I don't do a good job of honoring him. If you don't already know me, hi, I'm Rebekah Saltzman, a personal organization expert who helps Jewish families everywhere get organized and have less so that they can have more by teaching them to curate their best collection of objects so that they can spend less time on stuff and more time on the people they love and the things that they want to pursue. I'm also the author of Organized Jewish Life, and I run a decluttering membership called The Journey to Organization, where I help people all over the world declutter and get organized in real time. Let's talk about Psalm 39, Tehillim 39. It isn't a happy psalm, and it doesn't even have a happy ending like other psalms. It's a lament, and it looks like the author is a little bit angry at God. Women often tell me, I just don't have enough time to do it all. They're frustrated, and in a lot of cases, though most don't admit it out loud, they lack the belief that God is actually doing what is best for them and that God has a plan for them, or even that God is with them at all. They feel abandoned and miserable, just like the author of Psalm 39, who is David. It's hard to imagine King David feeling abandoned by God, and yet here is evidence that this is true. I mean, who would have thunk it? But here we have it in black and white. I feel the frustration and I get it because I don't have enough time all the time to do everything either. And sometimes, in all honesty, I feel like God says to me, here's the roadmap. By the way, it's in Chinese, which in case you didn't know, I don't speak. And best of luck to you figuring it out because ha ha ha, right? Sometimes I feel just like he's laughing at me, abandoned and all alone. What David is feeling is a deep despair in this psalm. It's penetrating. It's my soul hurts so much. I don't know how I can move on and feel better. He feels despair because he was pursued by his enemies. And even when he's pursued, he doesn't get mad at God. He holds it in. He restrains himself because he believed God had him on the correct path. He holds himself back and he tries to have gratitude for all the good things God does for him. And then all of a sudden, he loses it because sometimes it all feels like too much. And for him, it just all felt like too much. Let me know if this resonates for you. The kids all need something, your husband needs something, your clients need something, and the pursuit of trying to do what everyone needs, plus be there for yourself, all the while trying to be a servant of God, there sometimes just isn't enough of you to go around. And this is what David's feeling. He just can't get on his way. He begs God at this point to let him know when his end is near, because he would rather die than continue on. And then he gets angry again. I do all this work and amass all this wealth, and I don't even think I'm going to be able to enjoy it. All my hard work is going to be for someone else. And we know he doesn't get to build the Beit HaMikdash, right? All the glory goes to somebody else. And then we get to the climax. I have to put my faith in you, God, and I ask you to please forgive my sins. But now I'm going to stop talking to you because you're bringing me all this punishment. So it's pointless for me to talk to you because the punishment is too severe for how fleeting human life is. And then David says, in a somewhat confused way, give me hope, give me a sign. And in the end, he's just like, you know what, God, just leave me alone. Let me be, because I don't know. I can't figure it out. And through the whole psalm, David is in despair. And even when he seems to know and understand God is with him, he struggles with internalizing it. I understand, David, and I bet you do too, because sometimes, like I said before, it all feels like too much. Sometimes the sadness, the efforts that don't turn into anything, the burdens people place on us, it all feels like it's our responsibility, like we're the ones who have to do it all. But we don't. We simply don't. It's not possible to have perfect faith all the time. David clearly shows us this in Psalm 39. However, it's important to understand that we always need to be improving our faith, even when it feels pointless, which to me feels like what he is doing here. When we stop devoting time to God, that's when it's the most difficult to connect to him. That's when the despair is heaviest. That's when we feel most alone. And this is not only true with devotion to God, but with all things we want to accomplish. When we stop trying, that puts a hole in our heart, and that leads us to despair. In this week's parak of Pirkei Avot, we learn we don't need to finish the job, but we can't stop trying to finish it, right? We always have to keep trying. So what can you do? You can't conjure up more time, right? I mean, if you can, let me know the secret because I'd love to know. But you can prioritize how you spend your time. Now, in my opinion, you need to follow the sages from also this week's chapter in Pirkei Avot, who remind us that the more possessions we have, the more worry we have. Simply put, when you have more stuff, it's easy to get caught up in the stuff. But if you minimize, simplify, reduce, and get yourself back to the basics, just what you need, it's easy to prioritize yourself, your family, your community, and God. Stuff distracts us from our purpose, which is serving God. That's it. Our goal here is to serve God. To be clear, we totally need stuff to live. I get it. But the amount of stuff we need, well, that's debatable. And most of us don't need as much as we think we do. And in my opinion, you really need a lot less than you have. I want to share another story with you. Someone wrote to the Lubavitcher Rebbe about asking if it was okay for him to see a doctor when he was sick. And the Lubavitcher Rebbe wrote, a doctor is given permission to heal, and therefore one must seek a doctor. At the same time, he must clearly understand that it is God who is the healer. He then goes on to say that a person must also heal their spirit and say psalms for that specific day of the month daily, and study the Torah portion of the week, so every day, so as to complete it in each week. Now, in full transparency, I started doing this a few months ago, even before I read this story, because I've kind of been having a little bit difficult time with some things in my life. So I made up my mind that I was going to say a certain, the course of tefillot every day, Tehillim, and learn the parsha. And even on the days when something came up out of the ordinary and I was short on time, and even if I did it out of my regular order, I made time to fit in every day for God. Not every day feels like I'm winning at life, I'll be honest. But when I look back at the total of days or weeks, I see I dedicated time to things I believe in, and that has changed me. It helps me see what are my priorities in life. And when I feel sometimes like God's abandoned me, I find it easier to move myself from despair to a more even emotional level. Not quite joy, but not suffering either. During the second week of the Omer, we focus on geulah, restraint. Today's restraint is coupled with hod, beauty. There is beauty in restraint. Let me say that again, because I think it's really worth repeating. There is beauty in restraint. Psalm 39 teaches this. David holds his tongue in complaints of God. But even with restraint, there's a limit because we can't hold back forever. Sometimes we need to say things. If we hold back too much, it feels like we may just explode. The same thing's true with stuff. It's good to be restrained with things because when you have too much, it all feels like too much responsibility. But at the same time, there are things that we need. What I hope for you is that you find the beauty in doing less, having less, and needing less, because it makes it easier to hear when God is speaking to you because there's less distraction. And it also makes it easier for you to spend time with him. The messages that we get from God may not always be clear, but the fact that he's trying to send us a message will be clear when we have less distraction. It's frustrating when the message doesn't have a clear path to take, but even if it did, would you take it? Would you know? It will be your job to find the beauty in God's restrained message to you and take the path that's meant for you. Thanks so much for listening.
Thank you so much. What a beautiful message.
Pleasure.
Beauty in simplicity. Thank you so much for being here with us, Rebekah. And guys, check out Rebekah's book and follow her. All the links have been posted here, and they're also in the email that was sent to you. I really appreciate you being here with us.
My pleasure.
I hope to see you again on Wednesday. We're not going to be meeting tomorrow. Just to remind you, our next session is going to be on Wednesday with Rebbetzin Malka Kaganoff, discussing chapter 24, focused on the topic of ascending the mountain of the king. So please do join us 8 p.m. Israel time, 1 p.m. New York time or Eastern time on Wednesday. Remember, tefillah changes us. And when we change, our entire world changes. Have a great night. Love you all. Mwah.